time for the first garden tour of 2022. Almost exactly a year after I started. So, we're gonna get this going because there's more stuff up at the front than there is at the back. So, you'll also have to excuse some of the daffodils need to be deadheaded and haven't done that yet. But, here we go. So, we got the perennial bed and the mess of tulips that I'm in love with. So the red ones are spent. You can see that they've got their pods here. I'm debating if I want to do tulip seeds. I've heard that it can be very difficult to manage those and that they take forever to grow from seed. But there's a lot of tulips in there and daffodils that I'm in love with. Anyway, so we got new additions this year. There's this heuchera that's from last year, and then we were out and about shopping, and Ian found this one. Found two of them. There's one over on the other side. But look at these leaves. Are they not amazing? I'm so in love with this plant. And then this hosta's coming back with a vengeance, which I'm super happy about. It gets a lot of water because that splitter is toast. I have another one. I just haven't set it up yet. But yeah, that splitter's toast and it leaks water everywhere. So right here is nice and moist, which is good for hostas. Then I've got this little heuchera here. That's called a berry smoothie. And then I got lily volunteers that are coming up that I didn't apparently dig up when I was digging up the bulbs in the fall. The heuchera back here is called obsidian. And then I also have a daffodil on the way. I have a bleeding heart in front of my alliums. I think that's what they're called. They're essentially purple pom-poms, and as you can see, they're getting ready to flower. Then another new one from just the other day is this hosta. So this hosta is called guacamole, and it's actually doing really well for a transplant. Oops. It's doing really well from yesterday. The leaves on it are huge. So the idea for that is that when all of this is done and cut back to just leaves, the hosta can kind of grow and take up some space so it's not a giant void. Because that's what happens when you have stuff that sprouts early. And then on this side, there's another obsidian, another berry smoothie. I think these ones are called Midnight Rose. This is my original one, by the way. This is the very first one that I got. So it's in its third year. Yeah, and it is fantastic. I've loved these plants, and I don't know why, but I do. This one's also getting to the point where I can probably start looking at splitting it because it's got a couple different crowns. It's putting out flowers already. Yes, very happy with this one. This one did not transplant very well, so it's kind of unhappy, so I got to baby it a little bit. Yeah, and then this hosta is coming back. It doesn't get as much water, so it's not as big. It was planted at the same time as my other one. But yeah, I just have to get some more water on it. And then you can see that clematis is looking very sad because I didn't hurt it enough because I didn't think that I had to. And it's a little toast, but it's a group C clematis, so it can benefit from a hard prune. So I'm debating if I will just clip it back now and then hope that it starts growing again. I got to do a little more reading on that. However, my two clematis from last year. So I was not sure if they were going to come back because I was kind of awful to them when I put them in. First of all, I did not realize they were in those little peat pod sacks. So the roots couldn't grow. So I had to rip that off to let them grow. And then I didn't prune either of them back because one is a group. I have one group A, one group B, and one group C, but I can't remember which of these two is which. I have the tags in the garage. But yeah, they have already exceeded where they were growing last year. This one is just out of control already, and I'm very excited. It's crawling up the trellis there. This one's coming back really good and growing out new shoots. They're like doubling in size every day, which is fantastic. As you can see, this one has already reached the top of the little trellis that I've made, and hopefully won't be long. Oh, you can see spider pods, or egg sacs, sorry. I wonder if those will hatch for me. It's been kind of cool, so I don't think they will, but we'll see. Then what else? Oh, there's the crocus that all came up, and their flowers are all done, but their foliage is really pretty. Before my neighbors moved, her youngest son helped me plant all of these, so when they were flowering, I sent her pictures to send to him. Their leaves are really nice too. So yeah, that's it for the big bed out front. Then this bed, I'm really impressed with. So there's not daylilies, there's just lilies and the peony in this so far. I put 12 lily bulbs in yesterday. I'm not 100% sure if they're gonna come in for me because they were kind of iffy. However, these ones are the black ones that I started inside last year, and they flowered inside for me, and I pretty much just had lily towers. So they got moved out of the big bed into this bed, and they've all come up, which I'm really excited about because I was kind of concerned. This bed, we dug it in the fall, and then we mulched it and we left it over the winter. When I was putting this peony in yesterday, there's like 8 inches of good topsoil that I was not expecting. And so this bed is really soft. Having had it covered really helped. Yeah, so then this plant made me cry. So this is a Julia Rose peony, and as it matures, the leaves get oranger in the center with the red pink rimming around it. I took a picture of a year 1 flower that I can throw in at some point here. And it's pretty pink, as you can see. And there are little buds on this one, but I'm probably going to pinch those off. The reading I have been doing has said that your first year for sure your peony probably won't flower, and you don't want it to flower because you want it to establish a really healthy root base. So this got planted with blooming fertilizer to help it grow, and then in the fall we're going to be splitting a peony that Ian's grandmother has, and it's going to go here. And then ideally I want to get some of that white lattice fencing to go in behind them to kind of create a little bit of a protection barrier, because they get big but they're kind of delicate too. So yeah, so that's, and then I'll be putting lily bulbs in this for forever, and this will just be a giant patch of lilies. So that's kind of it for up front right now. I know later in the week we have plans to come out and kind of map out what we want to do with the front yard, because the goal, or I guess the eventual plan, is to take out the sod, because we don't want the sod anymore. So the roses are going to go in here, and then we picked 3 so far. We have to measure out and see what our spacing is. We might have 4 varieties, but that'll be kind of a video of its own, because that's going to be a process. And this is our first foray into roses, and I'm very nervous because I know they can be very fussy. And then eventually we're going to take some of this out, put stone in with a little fence, and then have irises planted behind it to just make a nice little kind of closed in barrier. But yeah, there's big plans for this little front yard. So it'll be fun to see it change throughout this year, because the biggest change is going to be the roses. And I don't know if you can see, but I am being supervised. That is dear darling Zach. So let's go take a look on the porch, and then we'll take you to the back, even though there's not much to look at in the back right now. So there's the canna from last year in here. I don't know about this one. I planted it how I was told. It says it could take 3 to 6 weeks to break dormancy. I don't know. We'll see what happens. This was the blazing orange or bronze orange one. The one that I had last year that I wooed about all the time. So I'm hoping it comes back. If not, lesson learned, and I will have to get a replacement. In here, we've got callas. That's empty and probably going to go to the back because I have another container I want to bring out that's in the back right now. And then this is Dark Night Tuscan Yellow and Angel Martin, and those are canna lilies. There's 3 bulbs in here, there's 3 bulbs in there, and then there's just the one there. So the idea behind this is to have the 3 cannas kind of take up this space, and then the callas to kind of flank them. And then I have a yellow dahlia in a pot in the back that I have to up pot and move out front. That's going to sit right here and just have a nice little flower corner. I don't have any plans to hang anything off the railing this year, just because I haven't been able to find containers that I like. Everything seems to be very shallow, and for someone like myself who is very inconsistent with their watering, shallow containers make things difficult. But we'll see. I have no chill, so that could change, and it probably will change. But anyways, let's go to the backyard now and see what we got going on out there. All right. So this is the dahlia that'll be moving to the front. Then we've got peppers that I did not start because I messed up 3 times this year trying to get my seeds started. So these are purchased. We got them from Plant Ranch. There's Argyrico pepper. I have another one to put in there because peppers like to hold hands. And then these are striped peppers, candy cane, I believe they're called. I have the tag somewhere. This is the leftover of the Berg from last year, because we have not dealt with that yet because we have to deal with the water in the back. These are some things that I still have to plant. So catnip is kind of mad at me because it's dry. Then I've got a datura that the wind knocked over. So this is the ballerina datura. So Ian really wanted a datura last year and we couldn't find one, so we got one this year. And then I've got San Marzano tomatoes. What were these? The sweet heat peppers. I think those might have actually been the wrong ones, but that's alright. We can always go back and get more peppers. And then the other Argyrico. These will be planted with my greens probably tomorrow. Yeah, probably tomorrow when I get home from work. And then I've got mint all along the wall here. I'm actually going to try to stay on top of watering these. The past couple of years I hadn't really been paying attention, but because they're right under the eave, they don't get watered like I thought they were. So mint is really good at being dramatic, so it'll let me know when it's dry, so I'll remember to water it. So we've got orange mint, ginger mint, peppermint, and apple mint at the very end. These baskets have sweet peas in them, so hopefully they'll come and they'll trail down and it'll be really pretty. Because this mess is getting dealt with this year. I know I had said last year that we were going to put a sump in, and then we had unexpected expense come up with my fence, my beautiful, glorious fence that I love very much. So this year, with the amount of snow that we had, even running the sump pump, we were getting water spilling over the lip of our man door into our garage right here, which is why the stones are all moved, and it's got mud and a mess all through here. So we're going to be putting the permanent sump pit in this year. It's a number one on the list. As soon as we can get the materials, in she goes, because it got really, really bad this year. And like, as you can tell, without rubber boots on, it's impossible to get through there. And even with rubber boots, you'll hear when I put them on, like, I squish and get stuck. It's very frustrating. And it's also hard on the foundation of my garage. So that is a for sure project for the back this year, because every year so far we've had a project, and that's this year. Now, for the rest of this beautiful place, above the beds, I'm not growing any vegetables above my beds. I'm still very heartbroken over the cucumber tragedy last year. Oh, still not over it. So we've got baskets of petunias and baskets of nasturtiums. There's 3 petunia baskets and 3 nasturtium baskets over each bed, with the goal kind of being that they'll fill out. They'll be there for the pollinators because our bees came in. So as soon as the temperatures warm up at night, we will be putting those out and have stuff ready to go for them, because I really enjoyed having them last year, and hopefully we'll have a really good experience with them again this year. And I think for today I don't actually have to go around. Oh wait, no, I do have to go around because I have things growing up along the fence. So let's get the rubber boots. Get them on to traipse around this yard. So, actually, I'll start with this bed while we're here. So this bed, pretty much all of my stuff is direct sow this year. I did start some tomatoes and some peppers in the grow tent in the house, but as I said, I messed up and I started them. The seedlings growing in there now are the 3rd set of seedlings. Because, yeah, I messed up pretty good, but it happens. So I've got eggplants and tomatoes and hot peppers started in there, and I've kind of just determined that once they get their first set of true leaves, I'll toss them outside. Whatever survives. And if it gets to the point where it's getting late in the season and they still haven't fruited, I'm going to move them back into the grow tent to let them finish out growing. So they'll all be put in pots. So what we've got in the beds this year is in this north bed, I've got bean plants from this 4x4 to the end, and I believe I've got green, yellow, red, tongue of fire, and dragon's tongue. So the dragon's tongue are the green and purple speckled ones, and the tongues of fire are like a pinky white speckle. I did try to grow these last year in the pots on the bean shelf, and they did not do well. The first year that I grew beans in ever, I grew them in that bed. So I'm hoping that growing them in the bed this year will be beneficial. Then I've got cucumbers set to grow up both of them. I've got seeds on the east and the west sides of each of these so that they hopefully grow up. Because again, I lost all my cucumbers last year having them in the basket. And the first year that I grew them in this area, and they did really well. So I'm hoping that having them in the beds again will allow them to grow really well, and ideally, maybe even grow up and into the canopies, which would be kind of cool. So then, in this space, I have 6 zucchini plants, which is probably going to be overkill, but I planted 2 greens, 2 yellows, and 2 gray zucchini plants in the hopes that at least one of each of those takes, and then if the second one doesn't take, or if it's kind of runty and having a hard time, I can pull it, and then I can just have 3 in this area because they will get very prolific. I'm debating whether or not I want to stake my zucchini plants because I have seen them done that way. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, I have another supervisor. I don't know if you can see Pandora in the window. So then, this was gifted to me by Brittany, who is Skunk at a Garden Party. She also has a YouTube channel. And I'm going to say that I'm going to put her video or link in the description, and I'm actually going to do that this year because I am terrible at that, but I'm kind of garbage at social media unless it's ridiculous posting on my personal page. So in here I have brassicas in the hopes that I can keep cabbage moths off of them, because I have lost cabbages and bok choy and my broccolis to cabbage moths and loopers. So the idea is to hopefully mitigate that as much as I can. So in here I have regular broccoli, purple cauliflower, regular cauliflower, Napa cabbage, Copenhagen cabbage, and my 2 different kinds of bok choy. So the seeds are in, just waiting for them to pop up. I planted them on Wednesday, and so they're obviously not up yet when it takes anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks. So that's what's in here. I'm really liking this. Probably next year I might purchase my own and put a second one in this bed, and then that way it'll extend my season on either end as it gets cool, because these things retain a heck of a lot of heat. But I can actually cover these because it's not raining anymore. Oh, as I get stuck in the dirt and mud. Oh, struggling, sorry. Okay. Alright, so this bed. Oh my goodness. This bed has, let's see, my okra is here. I planted 2 different kinds of okra, Clemson Spineless and Baby Bubba or Baby Buddha. I can't remember. I have the tag. And then I've got my corn in here, so I've got my sweet corn, and then I have 4 seeds of Bloody Butcher just because I want to see what it turns out to look like. Because colorful things. Why not? And then I have a boatload of onions. I use my onions as my dividers. I was doing some reading because I was complaining about how the fact that unless you have a large garden space, it's really frustrating to purchase onion starts or onion sets, because they come in sets of like 80, and I was unsure of where I was going to put 80 onion bulbs. So I was doing some reading, and onions are really good pest control. So I use them as dividers. So there's the onions that are dividing between the corn and the okra and everything else. We just did Spanish onions because that's what we tend to use the most. And then I've got 3 kinds of beets in here. I've got Early Wonder, Golden, and the Bullseye ones that are red and white rings. Another row of onions. Oh, there's also cucumbers growing on both of these as well. Then I've got radish, hailstone, dwarf red champion, which is your traditional red radish, and black Spanish radish. Another row of onions, and then I've got carrots in here. I've got ox heart, scarlet nantes, and I think I planted black nebula. I think. We'll see when they come up. Lots of root vegetables in this bed. This year, we covered these beds with at least 2 inches of leaf litter. over the winter, and the difference that it made in water retention and just general health of the soil. Like, I don't know why I waited so long to mulch things. I watch so many gardening videos and so many homesteading videos, and everyone's like, mulch, it saves your soil. And I was like, nah, does it really? Yes, it really does. Like, as you can see, the top is dry, but right underneath this is damp, which is what you want. And it's not hard to the touch. I'm sure by the end of the season it will be, because it'll be pretty spent, but that's okay. That's what it's supposed to be like. You'll notice the hoses are different this year, and that I'm not doing square foot gardening, just because I found that last year was a little too meticulous and kind of took the fun out of it. So this year I kind of just went caution to the wind and threw seeds in. So yeah. Now, what else is there? There's the potatoes. 2 different kinds of potatoes. We had potato sprout in the pantry again because they got buried under some stuff. And then I've got, they're called Emile or Emily. They're purple skin, purple flesh potatoes. And I'm very excited about those. And then, because we're not going to do grapes on this fence because we were doing some reading and they get too big. So instead, I don't know how well this will show up on the camera. There we go. There's this green little fence here so that I don't stomp on them. But I planted peas because they will grow and they will grasp onto the chain link and grow up it and hopefully give us lots of peas. Oh, and there's 1 cucumber somewhere planted in this row because I wanted to see what would happen. So, yeah, they go down to about here because I didn't want to plant anything further than that because we are going to have to walk around this corner a whole bunch when we're putting the drain in and the weeping tile and the stones and the boards, and this area was just not a good area to plant anything in this year. Hopefully next year I might be able to do like a container of something in the corner. But we'll see how that goes. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the first tour of the year. Not much to see because it just went in, but hopefully as we go along here there will be lots to see. I'm sure if you're making bets for how long it takes to fill up my stairs with fabric bags, you should probably get those bets in now. Because I did promise that I wasn't going to have as many bags on the steps as I did last year. However, we sold the car and bought a truck, so now Ian parks out front and doesn't have to walk through the stairs. It's just me, and I park my car in the garage now, so I don't mind walking through a jungle to come into the house. So we'll see how long it takes before the stairs are completely full. Oh wait, I lied, there is one more thing to show you, as long as I don't fall. Okay, so you know how that is the area where we hang the bees. It's not up yet because it's still too chilly. So I replanted this bed with cosmos and zinnias, and I planted them in a reasonable time this year so that they hopefully will grow. And as you can see, never-ending battle of thistles. Eventually the plan is to start putting clover down, but I have to sort my hose situation, which is probably just going to end up being hooks on the beds. But yeah, so eventually, hopefully, we'll have clover that kind of fills in all this area, and that'll help mitigate the muck. But yeah, so there's all sorts of cosmos and zinnias in there. I think I have more zinnias than cosmos. I know I have black cosmos And I've got candy striped zinnias and queen lime zinnias. And I think there's like a general mix and a jazzy red or something like that. And yeah, so that'll be really pretty. And that's kind of just the goal this year, is to just have a garden that looks pretty and that I enjoy being in. Not to say I didn't enjoy being in it last year. I just wonder what I was thinking when I decided that 14 tomato plants needed to go in my garden bed. But anyways, that's kind of all I got for you this week. So I appreciate you guys coming to check things out with me at the beginning of the season here, and I hope you stick around for the ride, because it's gonna be a wild one this year, I think. Yeah. So thank you guys for hanging out with me on a Sunday evening in my little patch of paradise in the prairies of Canada, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks. Bye-bye.